hearing SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, we heard that Krishna returned back to Dwaraka and he was received by the residents, and his beautiful form is described. And we heard also, and his lotus feet are the refuge of pure devotees who never talk or think of any subject except his lordship. Those who are pure devotees, they re-established their eternal relation with Krishna. So Krishna is their only refuge, only shelter. Actually, nothing is reliable, nothing is stable in this world, nothing. Even our own powers we cannot rely on. Anytime it may be taken, anything. What is reliable is only Krishna, because he is eternal and he is controller of everything and he is omnipotent. He is owner of everything. So those who are real devotees, they are submitting to him and only doing their duty to him, what Krishna wants. They are serving him and they have no worries because Krishna is their maintainer, Krishna is their protector. That is why even in this world you will find even those who have a lot of money or many bodyguards and good doctors and everything, they are also not peaceful. Outwardly they are peaceful, they think I have everything, I can do whatever I like, but inside they are not peaceful. Even though they may have so many things in this world, but it is all temporary. But those who have established connection with Krishna, they are the only ones who are inside. They are peaceful, not worried. Because Krishna is owner of everything. So what can be lacking? And he is protector, he is affectionate, friend, well-wisher, everything. So their only thinking is only what I have to do, what Krishna wants me to do for him, how I have to serve him. That is their only thinking. And those who are in exclusive shelter of Krishna, they also have no taste, no interest to speak of any other subject except Krishna. And they also cannot speak any other subject because they see everything is Krishna and his energies. Sita tapatra vyajanair upaskritaha prasuna varshair abhivarshitah pati Vishanga Vasavana Malaya Babho Ghano Yatarko Dupa Chapa Vaidyutei. As the Lord passed along the public road of Dwaraka, his head was protected from the sunshine by white umbrella. White feathered fans moved in semicircles and showers of flowers fell upon the road. His yellow garments and garlands of flowers made it appear as if a dark cloud were surrounded simultaneously by sun, moon, lightning, and rainbows. So we have to hear about Krishna and think of him, meditate on him. Atma varet drashtavya, shrotavya, mantavya, nidhyasitavya. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. You have to see Paramatma Krishna. Atma Drashtava Shrotava. You have to hear about him, think of him, and meditate on him. Then you can be liberated from all sins and you can get absolute bliss. But it is not only enough only to speak, like our Gurudev used to explain. I know that taking that medicine is good for this purpose. I know. I came to know from doctor and also others, they are saying really it is working. So I know, but I'm not taking. Then what is the use of that knowledge? I'm not taking, so how I can get result? Or in Vedanta Sutra also you will find that there is a difference between knowers of Brahman and those who realized. One may know that honey is sweet. He heard, but he never tasted honey. So how he can actually know what is the sweetness of honey? Cannot know. So we have to hear and accept and practice, then we can get the result. Pravishtas tu griham pitroh parisvaktah svamatribhi vavande shirasa sapta devaki pramukha muda. After entering the house of his father, he was embraced by the mothers present, and the Lord offered his obeisances unto them by placing his head at their feet. The mothers were headed by Devaki and others, those who have motherly affection. And father is Vasudev in Dwaraka, they are staying, so Krishna here is bowing down to them. Tah putram ankam aropya sneha snuta payodharaha harsha vihvali tatmana sishichur netra jere jalai. The mothers, after embracing their son, set him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wetted the Lord. So here it is stated stepmothers. That means other wives of Vasudeva is meant here. And according to scripture also there are 7 mothers. The real mother means biological, the wife of the spiritual master if he is a householder. The wife of a Brahmana, that is pure Brahmana, not by birth but by qualities. The wife of the king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth, all are mothers. Even by this injunction of the Shastras, the stepmother, who is the wife of the father, is also as good as the mother, because the father is also one of the spiritual masters. Lord Krishna, the Lord of the universe, plays the part of an ideal son just to teach others how to treat their stepmothers. Atavishat svabhavanam sarvakamam anutamam prasada yatra patninam sahasrani cha shorasha. Thereafter the Lord entered his palaces, which were perfect to the fullest extent. his wives lived in them, and they numbered over 16,000. Means he had 16,108, and every one of them had her own palace with compounds and gardens, everything. In 10th canto it will be described in detail. Patnyah patim proshya grihanu bhagatam vilokya sanjata mano mahotsava utastur arat sahasa sana shayat sakam vratir vririta lochananana. The queens of Lord Shri Krishna rejoiced within their minds to see their husband home after a long period abroad. The queens got up at once from their seats and meditations. They were thinking of Krishna, but now he came, so immediately they stood. As was socially customary, they covered their faces shyly and looked about coyly. This I don't understand. 1 second. Coyly. Intentionally tries to keep something secret, or in an outwardly shy or modest way that is intended to be alluring, in a way that shows reluctance to give details about something regarded as sensitive. So it is like keep a secret shyly and looked about coyly. Tam atmajair drishtibir antaratmana duranta bhava parirebhire patim nirudam apya sravat ambu netrayor vilaja tinam briguvarya vaiklavat. The unsuperable ecstasy was so strong that the queens who were shy first embraced the Lord in the innermost recesses of their hearts. Then they embraced him visually, and then they sent their sons to embrace him, which is equal to personal embracing. But, O chief amongst the Brigus, though they tried to restrain their feelings, they inadvertently shed tears. Here Sai Maharaj explaining, although due to feminine shyness there were many hindrances to embracing the dear husband Lord Shri Krishna, the queens performed that act by seeing him, by putting him in the course of their hearts, and by sending their sons to embrace him. Still, the act remained unfinished, and tears rolled down their cheeks despite all endeavors to check them. One indirectly embraces the husband by sending the son to embrace him, because the son is developed as a part of the mother's body. The embrace of the son is not exactly the embrace of husband and wife from the sexual point of view, but the embrace is satisfaction from the affectionate point of view. The embrace of the eyes is more effective in the conjugal relation, And thus, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, there is nothing wrong in such an exchange of feeling between husband and wife. Yadyapyaso parshvagato rahogatas tathapi tasyangri yugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tat padach chalapi at shrir na jahati karhi chit. Although Lord Shri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. Navam Navam. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? Lakshmi means wealth, money, cannot stay in one place. One will give to that person and then it will go to that person like this. No one can keep that because her nature is like that, chanchala, in this world. But in spiritual world, Lakshmi is always engaged in the service of Krishna. That is why our Gurudev said that it is rarely to be found, but there are some household devotees who are earning money for the service of Krishna. Because Lakshmi is property of Krishna, so should be used for him. So they had that shelter in Krishna, so there is no question of being restless and moving or quitting Lord's feet, not possible. Evam nripanam kshiti bhara janmanam akshauhinibhi parivrita tejasam vidhaya vairam shvasano yathanalam mito vadeno parato nirayudha. The Lord was pacified after killing those kings who were burdensome to the earth. They were puffed up with their military strength, their horses, elephants, chariots, infantry, etc. He himself was not a party in the fight, that is in Kurukshetra war. He simply created hostility between the powerful administrators and they fought amongst themselves. He was like the wind which causes friction between bamboos and so sparks a fire in forest, that is automatically by the wind coming. Here, Sai Maharaj is giving very nice commentaries from realized platform. Commentary. As stated above, the living beings are not factual enjoyers of things which are manifested as God's creation. The Lord is the genuine proprietor and enjoyer of everything manifested in His creation. Unfortunately, influenced by the deluding energy, the living being becomes a false enjoyer under the dictation of the modes of nature. Puffed up by such a false sense of becoming God, the deluded living being increases his material strength by so many activities and thus becomes the burden of the earth, so much so that the earth becomes completely uninhabitable by the sane man. Like Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, this world is not a fit place for gentlemen to stay. because all fighting going on. Our Gurudev said, we all here, we think, under the influence of Maya, we all think we are like a little Krishna. Means we are all enjoyers. Or sometimes Gurudev said, Lilliput Krishna. But it is all false. So we are fighting, trying to increase our false interest center, increase, and inevitably there is clashing with others, and all the time this fighting. So it is not a fit place for gentlemen. This state of affairs is called dharmasya glani, or misuse of the energy of human being. When such misuse of human energy is prominent, the saner living beings become perturbed by the awkward situation created by the vicious administrators. So administrators, they can be vicious. We may not believe because outwardly they are acting like well-wishers and showing some, but they are vicious also, who are simply burdens of the earth because they are greedy, they have never enough, and they are exploiting at any cost. And the Lord appears by his internal potency just to save the saner section of humanity and to alleviate the burden due to the earthly administrators in different parts of the world. He does not favor either of the unwanted administrators, but by his potential power he creates hostility between such unwanted administrators, as the air creates fire in the forest by the friction of the bamboos. The fire in the forest takes place automatically by the force of the air, and similarly, the hostility between different groups of politicians takes place by the unseen design of the Lord. The unwanted administrators, puffed up by false power and military strength, thus become engaged in fighting amongst themselves over ideological conflicts, and so exhaust themselves of all powers. The history of the world reflects this factual will of the Lord, and it will continue to be enacted until the living beings are attached to the service of the Lord. Some think, no, we made that organization, there will be no wars, there will be peace. No, we made that court, so there will be no corruption, like this. This is all false. Same thing is going on. And the ruling class, sometimes they are like kings and peasants, and then peasants, after some time, they throw down the king because he's exploiting. Sometimes it is one country and like one nation, one country, but it can also be like transnational, some groups, they want to rule the whole world and they're exploiting on some pretext like this. So also universal that cope, that how it is said, resistance, it may come global, universal. So it is always repeating. History is repeating itself. Why? Because as long as jivas will have this false ego, it will go on. No matter how much we decide on a round table, yes, we will not fight, yes, we will, no, cannot happen. All the time, same thing will go on. And in Kali Yuga, worse and worse. Because more degraded, more tamaguna, more rajoguna. So it is going on But individually also, we cannot expect that in Kali Yuga, in this world, there will be some ideal, like in general, some ideal thing. No. Only individually we can be rescued if we surrender like Prahlad Maharaj, or some oasis, small oasis of devotees who are sincerely, congregationally worshipping Krishna. They may have some like a parallel place in this world, but in general it is not possible in Kali Yuga. Like mass, that it will be, no, because Kali Yuga is meant like that, and so that we get the lesson. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is very vividly described. It is said that the deluding energy is my potency, and thus it is not possible for the dependent living being to supersede the strength of the material modes. But those who take shelter in me, the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, can cross over the gigantic ocean of material energy. This means that no one can establish peace and prosperity in the world by fruitive activities or by speculative philosophy or ideology. It is impossible, and history already proved it innumerable times, and it will in future also, it will be proved. It is impossible. As long as false ego is there, no question of peace and these things. The only way is to surrender unto the Supreme Lord and thus become free from the illusion of the deluding energy. Everyone individually has to do it. We cannot expect that someone else will do it instead of us, and we are hoping that others will do, and then I will also be benefited. No. I have my own responsibility in regard to this. If no one else, I have to surrender. Others cannot do instead. So this is our, as Sai Maharaj said before, it is up to you whether you will apply this or not. Unfortunately, persons who are engaged in destructive work are unable to surrender to the personality of Godhead. They are all fools of the first order. They are the lowest of the human species of life. They are robbed of their knowledge, although apparently they seem to be academically educated. They are all of the demoniac mentality, always challenging the supreme power of the Lord. Those who are very materialistic, always hankering after material power and strength, are undoubtedly fools of the first order, because they have no information of the living energy, and being ignorant of that supreme spiritual science, they are absorbed in material science, which ends with the end of the material body. Fool number one, sometimes Sai Maharaj also taught, and our Gurudev used to repeat this. Those who don't believe in God, they are fool number one. They are the lowest of human beings because the human life is especially meant for re-establishing the lost relation with the Lord, and they miss this opportunity by being engaged in material activities. They are robbed of their knowledge because even after prolonged speculation, they cannot reach to the stage of knowing the personality of Godhead, the summum bonum of everything. And all of them are meant of demoniac principle, and they suffer the consequences, as did such materialistic heroes as Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, and others. Also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote one song, Ore man bhalo nahi lage sangsar. There very nicely he described. You should see in the history those who thought the sense gratification is ultimate thing, and with their demoniac mentality they tortured other people, oppressed, they also ultimately succumb to death. They also meet their end. And they, before dying, they regret, but that time it is already too late. So everyone is getting the fruits of their own actions. That is why Canto Upanishad is saying there are two paths, Shreya and Preya. That which is beneficial and that which is pleasing, immediately pleasing, sense enjoyment. And in this world, 99.99% are supporters of Preya path. Shreya path supporters are very rare. So Gurudev said, don't make voting. You will badly lose if you make voting. So we should not expect or hope for some mass or something. No. Individually, everyone has to decide for himself that he wants eternal welfare and he will work for that, together with others who are also interested or alone. If no one there, then he will alone do. The decision is on us. Otherwise we will have to suffer. Like one time Gurudev told me, you are in private. He said, you are not this gross body and subtle body, you are spiritual spark, particle of consciousness. You belong to Krishna. When Gurudev was speaking, I could sense that also by his grace. It was very good. Then I said, yes, Gurudev, I know, but I did not realize. Then Gurudev said, if you will not accept this, then you will have to suffer. It was like naked truth, fact. It is a fact, but we are not thinking. But that time it was very clear, and without any sentimentalism or anything, Gurudev just spoke the truth. It is a fact. No one can change this. It is the will of Krishna. Who can change? If we resist, we are making our own trouble. So this is the reality. It is a fact. So misuse of our relative independence is the cause of our suffering. So we have to turn towards Krishna with the help of devotees. Sa esha nara lokesmin avatirna somaya reme striratna kutasto Bhagavan prakrito yatha. That Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, appeared on this planet by his internal potency and enjoyed himself amongst competent women as if he were engaging in mundane affairs. They are all his devotees. Outwardly look like mundane affairs, but it is not. Yes. The Lord married and lived like a householder. This is certainly like a mundane affair, but when we learn that he married 16,108 wives and lived with them separately in each and every palace, certainly it is not mundane. Therefore, the Lord, living as a householder amongst his competent wives, is never mundane, and his behavior with them is never to be understood as mundane sex relation. The women who became the wives of the Lord are certainly not ordinary women, because to get the Lord as one's husband is the result of many, many millions of births tapasya. When the Lord appears on different lokas or planets, or on this planet of human beings, he displays his transcendental pastimes just to attract the conditioned souls to become his eternal servitors, friends, parents, and lovers, respectively, in the transcendental world, where the Lord eternally reciprocates such exchanges of service. Service is pervertedly represented in the material world and broken untimely, resulting in sad experience. The illusionate living being conditioned by material nature cannot understand, out of ignorance, that all our relations here in the mundane world are temporary and full of inebriaties. Such relations cannot help us be happy perpetually, but if the same relation is established with the Lord, then we are transferred to the transcendental world after leaving this material body and become eternally related with Him in the relation with desire. This can happen already in this world by consciousness. When we realize, we come to the stage of Swarup Siddhi, who am I? Then you are not misidentifying with the body and you feel your eternal relation with Krishna. So even such devotees staying in this world, they are never troubled by anything, because they are beyond this dream. Like Gajendra told that when there is universal dissolution, all jivas are destroyed, all living entities. Jivas here in the sense of living entities, not Atma, the soul, because it is eternal. All living entities, they are destroyed, but Krishna is looking that indifferently. No sentimentalism. How this is possible? Because Krishna is not seeing as we are seeing. It is like a dreaming person. Someone in dream, he sees something and he's very much afraid. And he's shouting, help me, help me. But one person who is beside him and he's awake, he hears his cries and he hears him saying, oh, that tiger is attacking me. Please rescue me. That person who is awake, he knows it is not true. So he's not disturbed because of that. When that person will awake, then he will see, oh, it was all false. It was a dream. Like that, Krishna is seeing beyond that dream of jivas, or pure devotees also, they see beyond. So Krishna, he knows that actually nothing is happening to the souls. They are never born, they are never dying, they are not suffering, they are not harmed, nothing. That is why he can observe that indifferently. And he knows what I can do. If they will surrender to me willingly, then I will remove this Maya, that dream, and everything will be all right. But if they are not surrendering to me, what I can do? So they are just reaping the fruits of their own actions. One who is born will die, and according to his actions, he will do and get results, and then sometimes higher positions, sometimes lower, sometimes that species, sometimes this. All is going on perpetually, And all the time troubles are there, all the time. Gurudev said that the difference between realized soul and conditioned soul is this, that in this world always problems are there. But realized soul, by chanting Maha Mantra, he can tolerate everything. But conditioned soul cannot. This is the difference. But if we practice, then we can come out from that dream, like here, those who establish a relation with the Lord, even staying in this world, they are above this dream. Gurudev said, like in dream, sometimes we are crying in sadness, some suffering is there. Sometimes we are very happy. So in this world also, many things are happening. Sometimes we are laughing, we are very happy. Sometimes we are crying, all this, according to happening. But those who realized themselves in relation to Krishna, they are his eternal servants, they're beyond this dream. And they also see other living entities like that, above that dream. They are not affected by that dream. So they see this is, and it is also always changing. So this human life we got not to make material advancement thinking we will solve the problems. It cannot be possible. This human life is meant only to come out from this dream of Maya. By surrendering to Krishna, that will be the real solution to all problems of this material existence, and to get what we actually want, that perpetual, eternal pleasure, happiness. The woman amongst whom he lived as their husband are not therefore women of this mundane world, but are eternally related with him as transcendental wives, a position which they attain by perfection of devotional service. Some are Nitya Siddha, those they are Mahishis, Dwaraka wives. They are expansions of the gopis, who are expansions of Radharani, all in Madhuras. They are in Swakyaras, married. So some are Nitya Siddhas, some also can attain that. Such type of Swakya Ras with Krishna. Some followers of Jiva Goswami, they had attraction for Swakya Ras. So Jiva Goswami spoke about Swakya to them and wrote also in Shastra for them, because they are attracted in that way. So they are in Sakya. That is their competency. The Lord is Parang Brahma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Conditioned souls seek after perpetual happiness in all places, not only on this earth but also on other planets throughout the universe, because constitutionally a spiritual spark, as he is, can travel to any part of God's creation. But being conditioned by the material modes, he tries to travel in space by spacecraft and so fails to reach his destination. The law of gravitation is binding upon him like the shackles of a prisoner. By other processes he can reach anywhere, but even if he reaches the highest planet, he cannot attain that perpetual happiness for which he is searching like life after life. Up to Brahma Loka, Satya Loka, you can raise yourself, highest planetary, but you cannot get. Even you can go beyond that into Biraja, there also you cannot get. what we are searching for. When he comes to his senses, however, he seeks after Brahman happiness, knowing it for certain that unlimited happiness which he is seeking is never attainable in the material world. As such, the Supreme Being, Parabrahman, certainly does not seek his happiness anywhere in the material world. He is not impersonal. Because he is the leader and Supreme Being amongst innumerable living beings, he cannot be impersonal. He is exactly like us, and he has all the propensities of an individual living being in fullness. He marries exactly like us, but his marriage is neither mundane nor limited by our experience in the conditioned state. His wives, therefore, appear like mundane women, but factually they are all transcendental, liberated souls, perfect manifestations of internal energy. They are Nitya Siddhas. He is doing such pastime so that we may be attracted. Udama bhava pishunamala valguhasa vrira valokani hato madano pyasam samuhya chapam ajahat pramodotamasta yasendriyam vimatitum kuhakair na shekuh. Although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting, and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration, and although even the tolerant Shiva could fall victim to them, still, despite all their magical feats and attraction, they could not agitate the senses of the Lord. Because Bhagavan has 6 opulences. The one is Vairagyam. He's detached. No one can, by any means of this world, can make him restless. But pure devotees, they can bring him under their control, but that is another thing. The Cupid's influence is Cupid throws his arrow upon the living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Cupid's provocations are going on even among beastly societies who are all ugly looking in the estimation of the civilized nations. So Cupid, everyone is under the control of Cupid in this world. Only one who surrenders to conqueror of Cupid, that is Madan Mohan, he can be rescued from that influence. So here, this unalloyed affection for the Lord is never to be compared to mundane lust. It is purely transcendental. And the grave dealings which the queens displayed in natural feminine ways were also transcendental, because the feelings were expressed out of transcendental ecstasy. It is already explained in the previous verse that the Lord appeared like a mundane husband, but factually his relation with his wives was transcendental, pure, and unconditioned by the modes of material nature. Tam aya manyate loko hyasangam api sanginam atmau pamyena manujam vyaprinvanam yato Buddha. The common materialistic conditioned souls speculate that the Lord is one of them. Out of their ignorance, they think that the Lord is affected by matter, although he is unattached. One verse, because it is very good. Etat ishana mishasya prakritisto pitat gunai nayujyate sadatmaster yatha buddhistat ashraya. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. He is not affected by the qualities of material nature, even though he is in contact with them. Similarly, the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord do not become influenced by the material qualities. So this is the only solution. We have to surrender to Krishna, learn this and practice sincerely under the guidance of pure devotee and come to that. This is the only project we have in this human life. And if we don't do this, it will be totally wasted. We cannot get what we require, what we want, we cannot get. There is only one way to come to point of unconditional surrender to Krishna. Then a real happy life begins. Either staying in this world or anywhere in transcendence. That is why Mahaprabhu said, I want only this. I want your service, nothing else. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also said, in hell, heaven, in this species, that doesn't matter. I'm not praying for anything, even for liberation, nothing. I only want your service. I want your devotion. That is fulfilling the jiva. So tomorrow we will hear about Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, his appearance day. By the grace of such devotees, we can become inclined to surrender to Krishna and serve him.